Ready?
Okay, welcome back to the BookEnds YouTube channel. I'm James McGowan.
Hey, I'm Jessica Faust.
We are literary agents at BookEnds who have taken our popular blog to YouTube to discuss all things publishing. And today, we're a little on the defense here, okay?
We are a little bit.
So Jessica and I are very fast responders to queries, that means.
Yeah.
So we know it. If you've ever queried us, you probably know it.
Yeah.
But we are in our inboxes almost, if not every single day.
Yeah, I always say, when people sit on their phones and go on social media, I always go first to my query inbox. It's like where I kill my time. So if you spent an hour on TikTok, I've just spent an hour in my query inbox.
Yeah, so back when we were in the office, Jessica would come into the office first thing in the morning and like an hour debrief on Query Manager, just reading all the queries. I remember it. So it's our like go-to for procrastination,
Yeah.
but also it's like, if we have 5 minutes while we're waiting for a meeting, it's just an easy thing for us to get into and do. And it's something that we enjoy doing.
Yeah.
I mean, I know I respond to most queries within 1 to 2 weeks. I think you're fairly similar. Most submissions, and usually well before 1 week, I respond to queries. I'm usually responding to queries same day because I'm just on top of them. And then submissions usually within a month or so. But because we are carefully managing our inboxes, we often get angry responses that
They get mad.
Yeah, definitely.
They get mad because we're too fast.
Yeah, too fast. So we just, we're putting our foot down here.
Well, I think what I see from people who are mad that we're too fast is they feel disrespected, that they spent a lot of time on that query and we didn't give it due diligence because they sent it and within, because sometimes, depending on when you send it, and I happen to go in my query inbox, I can answer you almost instantly just because our timing happened to align with that. Other people are sitting there for a week just because sometimes I didn't get to that particular one yet.
Yeah. Well, so I think there's the assumption that when we reject fast, that we didn't read it. Either that we didn't read it at all, like personally, or that we physically did not read it, somebody else did. Like there's an assistant in there or an intern. And I can only speak for us. Some agents do have assistants and interns in there. I can only speak for us, but we are personally managing those. But I think, and I want to go so far as to say that even if it was an assistant or intern that was reading that query letter, that's fine. Like that's still a response and it's still a member of, let's face it, a curated team who is working for that agent that you've queried, who knows their taste, who knows what they're looking for, who is passing on a project because it's not going to be right for their boss. Yep. I have been in your query inbox before. We have very similar taste. I knew when something wasn't a fit for you, and I have passed on things same day because of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think that's the first kind of myth I want to dispel here, that even if it's not the specific agent who is reading their query and a member of their team, it's still a response that makes sense.
I actually have 2-page guidelines for my query inbox. And a lot of it is a breakdown of what sort of things are easy rejections. And I hope I'm not going too off track here, but like one of them, for example, is I'll have a lot of authors who submit to me under mystery. And in the first line of their query, it'll say they're sending me their YA. Well, I don't represent YA, which is why there's no section to click off YA. So that's an instant rejection. I don't represent YA. I don't have an interest right now in representing YA. Unless you're a client, I don't want to consider YA. So my assistant knows that they can go in there and just reject it because it is just not right for me.
Right. Yeah. And again, like I want to keep driving this point home. That is still a response, a logical response and a valid response. And I think I always hate to see assistants and interns sort of like brushed off and their response brushed off because I don't know, it always drives me nuts. But
well, the best thing an agent ever said to me back when I was an editor was I was working for my boss, managing things for this agent. And the agent said to me, I always make sure to get to know the assistants and treat them well because someday they're going to be the next editors. And the same is true of the assistants in our query inbox. A lot of them are looking for themselves. So I know what I always say to mine is, if you find something there that excites you, run with it,
Right.
because that's the way you will start to build your list.
Yeah, you're always great about that. There was never like, you have to have work this time. It's just like, if you see it, kind of go for it.
Go for it.
Well, we did digress a little bit, but we want to talk a little bit about how an agent can get you that answer fast. So a little bit apart from being in the inbox when the query comes in, how are we able to make a decision so fast? And you have a great analogy that I think helps really make anybody understand what it's like to be on our side of the desk. So run with it.
My headstone will one day say she had a great analogy for this.
It will. In parentheses, it might have to do with food. This one doesn't have to do with food.
This one does not.
Slightly disappointed in you. But go ahead.
Well, I could switch it to food, but it's so good as is. So as a reader, you go into the bookstore and you decide you're going to buy a book, right? You decide which sections you're going into. Maybe you're a manga fan, so you're going to head straight there. Maybe you have no interest in romance, so you're going to skip that section. Maybe you like nonfiction business books, so that's where you're going. Maybe you don't, so you avoid it. Whatever it is, I will guarantee you that there are sections of the bookstore that you don't go into. It might even be the section with pens and paper, or the toy section, or the game section. Whatever it is, you are not walking into that bookstore and scanning every shelf and every section, because you already have an understanding of the type of book you like to read and want to read. And agents are the same way. If, like my YA example, you're trying to sneak something by me, that's an instant rejection for me, because I don't want to go to that section of the bookstore. That's not what I'm reading right now. That could change. 2 years from now, I could be reading that. 5 years ago, I was reading that. But right now I'm not, and I'm not interested in adding that type of thing to my list. Could be that I don't like it. Could be that I need a break from it. It could be that I have a ton of those clients already and I'm trying to expand in different ways, because this is a business and diversifying for agents is important. So we may want to do that. Whatever it is, that's the way we're doing. Now, let's say you go to the section you love. You're in the mystery section. You are not picking up every book and carefully reading every bit of cover copy on every book to make your decision. You're looking at the title, you're looking at the cover, you are looking at the author name.
The size of the book? Is it
the size of the book?
Like a chunk of a book? Because sometimes you don't want that.
Yeah, so that would be the word count.
Yeah.
So you are making some quick decisions on your own, because let's face it, if you are lucky enough to have a full day to wander a bookstore, then I am completely envious of your life. But most of us don't. Most of us don't have a full day to wander a bookstore and pick up all the books and smell them and read about them and make our decisions. Most of us are there because we need to do something and we have a long list of other things we need to do. And so we're there to pick up a few things and leave.
Yeah.
And that's an agent in their query inbox.
So imagine you're hungry and you go into the grocery store.
Yes. Well, you know, I'm not going to the meat section.
No, you're not. I just had to make a food analogy. I had to get it in there.
I appreciate that.
It's not a bookends video if we do not. And it is our lunchtime. It's 55 minutes past our lunchtime at the hour of filming.
I am getting hungry. I did shove some food in my face beforehand, though. That's probably why we're not raging so bad on this one, because we both had a little snack.
Yeah, well, I've had a whole lunch. Not gonna lie. Just earlier than expected, which is already earlier than expected.
You are wiser than me.
Yeah. Okay, so we approach our inboxes the same way. And I also wanted to say too, keep in mind that agents work off of commission. So again, the same way you're in that bookstore and you're spending your hard-earned money on a book, we're spending all of our time on a book. So we have to like really want to read it. We have to really love it and be passionate about it and think that we're going to enjoy it. And on our side, think that we can sell it. So it is very similar to that experience of shopping in a bookstore, where you kind of know it when you pick it up that you're interested in something.
And we're one person. We're one agent. Well, we're two. But.
Yeah, sure.
Just because you decide that a very popular author is not your taste and you don't want to read it, doesn't lessen that author's success or what they're writing or anything about that book.
And we just read books all the time.
Right. Yeah. And we pass on books all the time that we know will be good. I just don't want to work on it.
Yeah,
I
just
know
as
that
fast
took-
on books that I've signed. Like just that's the
Yes.
nature. That's the nature of querying. It's very subjective.
Yes, yes. And so why do we read too fast? I guess the other thing I can say is that we've been doing this a long time. And when you're going through 500 queries a month, you learn to be very particular because you only need one in that 500. So we really learn to hone our skills and to get to the point of what we want in that query.
Yeah, can I say one more thing too? I think
Yeah.
the reason why we respond fast is because we value that. We value
Yeah.
being able to respond to authors because we know how hard it is to put yourself out there, to write a book, to write a query, to do the research. We know how hard the process is. I mean, we've got 200 videos talking about how hard the process is and how to make it easier. So part of the reason why we are in our inbox every day, you enjoy it. Yeah, it's our job. It's how we grow our list. But also we value you querying us. We appreciate that. And we want to get you a response. So I know it's hard to take that rejection, especially if it comes fast, especially if it feels like, what the hell? That was just batted right back out the park. But we're doing that because you deserve a response. And if we
Yeah.
can get you a response as soon as possible, we think you deserve that.
Yeah,
So I hope
I think
that reframing does help.
that's a really good point because I'm going on vacation, which means my query inbox is going to fill up and I'm going to come back and it's going to take me a lot longer to respond to
Yeah.
every single one. And that's going to hang over my head because that's going to build up and it's going to take me weeks, months to catch up and get to the space where I am right now.
Yeah, and you see a lot of agents on Twitter who are like, I'm really behind, I have to close down. We don't really love to close. I did just recently close, and that's because it was just, they were coming in too fast. I couldn't keep up.
Yeah.
And when you get to that point where like, oh crap, I have 600 queries, that's gonna take me days to get through. That doesn't feel good at all.
No.
It's a ton of work, it's exhausting. Nobody wants to get there. And our approach is to be on top of it so that we don't get there.
Yep.
So anyway, we hope this is a helpful reframing of the querying process and getting a response too fast. We hope you get fast responses from
Yes.
everybody. So don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you back here next time.
Bye.